What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a short review of Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3. This is episode 4, which is titled uh, A Different Approach. Now, this is a reference to the different ways that Omega and Crosshair do things. Crosshair is very action oriented, wants to shoot everything down. Um, kind of just violence is the answer. Omega wants to do things by the book, as kind as possible. She'll swindle people, but she'll do it legally. Everything that she does is kind of within the constraints of morality and legality as much as possible. Um, there's a lot of like cool things in this episode that you kind of just see how far Omega has come from season one. So we know that she's good at gambling. Sid kind of teaches her that in episodes of I think season two. Maybe it was season one, but she learns a lot of gambling from Sid, and they do a nice little callback to this when she's gambling against a Trandoshan, and then an Imperial agent, or Imperial like officer, while trying to gain money to get off world. And you can kind of see here the Empire doesn't really have morals. The officers are willing to gamble with her, even willing to concede the money, and then kind of right afterwards say, well, technically, gambling is illegal on this planet, so you have to pay a 10,000 credit fine. Which is stupid because obviously you gambled yourself too. You coerced her into gambling. If anything, you would be held liable, but that's okay. Um, Crosshair, um, kind of just watches this whole thing happen. I bet he kind of feels kind of useless until around the end of the episode when they finally decide to resort to violence because they realize that the Empire is always going to bend the rules. We see this all the time in Star Wars. I mean, even in like the original trilogy, the Empire bends the rules. Lando Calrissian, right? He has an agreement with Darth Vader. All of a sudden, it's like, well, the agreement's void now. We're doing other things now, but that's great that you thought there was an agreement. And Vader's like, pray I don't alter the deal any further. They don't really care about doing the right thing, even within their own legal system. So Batcher is with them, of course, and right after they pay the first fine, Batcher is abducted, and then they're like, oh. So of course Omega's like, well, I want to go save Batcher, and Crosshair's like, well, no, we have to go to the spaceport. So what ends up happening, of course, is Crosshair is abandoned by Omega, who wants to go help Thatcher, and then he's just kind of like, well, I gotta go help Omega now. Which is, of course, this is character development for Crosshair. He used to not really care about his brothers and his sister, and now he obviously cares. He obviously is making active efforts to help his family, which is good. Um, finally, I mean, this season I've really not hated Crosshair at all. I really hated him in seasons one and two. I didn't think it was possible to like him, but here we are. I'm kind of hoping that everyone kind of can accept Crosshair for who he is now, because I feel like he just evolved so much in just a couple episodes, really. I mean, he was evil up until around the end of season two, and now we're only a couple episodes in season three, and I already want to see him like with everybody, like interact with everybody, and have a good time and try to save the galaxy because he cares now. Um, so of course they end up saving Batcher, because Omega wears him down. Now she learns that she can't just take him back without force. So they do end up committing force. I believe the Imperial officer gets eaten by some random creature because they're trying to like abduct all these pets, and that was their reasoning for taking Batcher. Of course, he figures out that this is the Omega that they're trying to. Um, this is the Omega that's trying to. Uh, I guess this is the Omega they're talking about when they talk about like this is the girl from Mount Tantus that is really important, the clone that's really important. And so he realizes that he's like, oh yeah, this is the girl that I'm gonna get a huge promotion and stuff. And then of course it ends up backfiring. They end up taking a shuttle and they end up trying to find Hunter and Wrecker at the end of the episode. They finally find them on the moon that they've been hiding out on, and they have a nice little reunion. And then everyone kind of stares at Crosshair. Obviously, we know Omega's impartial to Crosshair, or partial to Crosshair, but she loves Crosshair now. Hunter and Wrecker probably don't. They have good reason not to, but I think that they'll come around. Now, what would I rate this episode? Well, I will say this episode isn't really filler. It can act like a filler episode, but really is just not fully main story. It's something that you should still watch because it ends in something important, but it is sort of just getting a character from one place to another, but doing a good job of storytelling in between, which is what you want. It's not really filler. Um, I also love how they all reunite at the end, and I would say there's something really wrong with the episode. Like, I mean, this could be a 10 out of 10 if you really want it to be. I'll give it a little less just because The Bad Batch hasn't always been the most compelling thing to me. It's alright. It's definitely like decent Star Wars storytelling, and this isn't like a bad series, and I do like it. But to say that I love it and that this is on par with some of Star Wars' best, like season 7 of the Clone Wars, or like some of the better movies. I mean, like obviously Bad Batch season 3 is just not on that level. That's okay. It doesn't really have to be. So I would say this episode would be a 9.5 out of 10, which is the highest one. Let me type that into my thing. Um, what would this series be as a whole right now? I mean, we had it at a 7.5 out of 10. I could maybe give it somewhere around an 8.5, 8.3 to 8.5. um, which is pretty good. So it's good that Star Wars Bad Batch season 3 has taken a big step further into being a really, really amazing season. And we still have about 11, 12 episodes left, so there's plenty of time for it to get even better, and hopefully it does. Because I have enjoyed this season a lot. And that's all I have for you guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Um, of course, Bad Batch is streaming on Disney Plus. You can also comment down below your thoughts on today's episode. Spoilers are fine. This is a spoiler review, so spoilers are fine. Um, other than that, I'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.